got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin for lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
And hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon and good evening to you all. And of course we're here back for another PSGL round. We're here of course for the penultimate round in Formula 8 this season, in season 34 of PSGL. Of course, we are here today for round 11 of 12 for this season's PSGL. Like I said, as you can see below, I am the regular PSGL F8 commentator. My name is Cameron Dawn. My Twitter is just down below. I will be alone again today. Ace has unfortunately not been available the last few weeks. Thankfully, though, again, we're here with the upgraded streams. I love having all this equipment now, having the upgraded streams. It's brilliant to have it because now the streams will be a lot better. Hopefully as well, my audio should be fixed. I tested it literally right before the stream, so if it doesn't work, I don't know. Anyway, we are here, of course, for round 11, like I said, and we are here in the Shanghai International Circuit for a track which you don't see often on many calendars. We are here for China for the penultimate round. Of course, next week, just recently announced, we are going to be going to Abu Dhabi. What we see in real life is the finale. We are going to see in PSGL, every single tier will will have its finale in Abu Dhabi. So that will be a very interesting race next week. But most importantly, we have to focus about F8 because F8 right now is absolutely unbelievable when it comes to the driver standings battle and also the constructors drivers battle. Currently right now, we actually have two drivers fighting for the driver championship. Mathematically, I believe it's three, but unfortunately, the third driver there is not here today. Sem and Jesler. You would have heard their names mentioned throughout the whole entire season. They have been the main championship rivals since race 1, where it was them two fighting for P1 and P2 in the first race, and even the second race. They were tied in the standings in the second race. But since then, it's been Jesler leading the way. However, Jesler has missed the two previous races, round 10 and round 9, and because of that, heading into today's round, Sem is our new championship leader, and the point gap between them is 4 points. Sem sits on 93 points, and Jesler sits on 89. So, of course, two races left. The point system in PSL being 16, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, the top 10 score the points. So, right now, it's going to be very interesting. Both drivers have to have a great race today in order to set themselves up brilliantly for next week's race in Abu Dhabi. But then we look to the constructors battle, which I think this is probably the biggest constructors battle I think throughout any tier this season in PSGL. I can't see it being bigger than this. It is a 4-team battle going into today's round, and actually it's a joint lead, and that is between McLaren and AlphaTauri. Both both teams are on 102 points. And then third and fourth is then Alpine and Red Bull. Alpine sit on 97, Red Bull sit on 96. So between the top four, it's only a 6-point gap. And fortunately as well, we have I believe we have every single driver here today from those teams. Red Bull, I know we have Jesler, I don't know if we have Oesi. Alpine have both drivers, Meg and Jordan here today. McLaren only have one of Sem, and AlphaTauri only have one of Alpha Gully. Of course, unfortunately, we are still in the multiplayer cars. The patch was supposed to be coming out today for the equal cars to actually be equal again, because they haven't been. But unfortunately, it has been delayed till tomorrow. So for today, we're going to be in the multiplayer cars again. A bit more confusing, but we'll deal with it. Next week for the finale, it should be fixed. So definitely be on the lookout there for that next week's race. Just a run through the constructors. Sitting in fifth is Haas. They're not far behind. They, to be fair, are 18 points behind Red Bull, so they are within the range to potentially get into that fight. But with only one driver here today of Jakku and no Jimmy, it would be very tough. And then we have Aston Martin then in P7, followed by Williams in P8. No, Aston Martin in P6, sorry, and then Williams in P7, Alfa Romeo P8, and then Mercedes and Ferrari being joint P9, both on 10 points at the back. So, of course, we're here. If anyone is just joining now, Cartwheel is saying, "Hi, I cannot hear." The reason why I cannot hear is because it's only just me speaking right now. And Dennis Hager, hello, is Yarno racing today? Hello, hello Dennis, this is PlayStation F8, Yarno is PC F1, so unfortunately no, this is not where Yarno races. It would be a pleasure if it was, but Yarno does not race in this tier. However, we are going to be starting very, very shortly, so we're going to run one quick ad from PSGL's main title sponsor of GT Omega, and hopefully by the time the advert is done, we will be ready to go. So we will be back very shortly. So we are just loading in now. As you can see, I was gonna go to me talking, but we might as well just stay in this as we're just loading in. However, what we are going to do is we're going to have a little look at the China circuit. So, the China circuit consisting of 16 corners with, of course, 3 sectors on the track, 5.451 kilometers and 3.387 miles long, 2 DRS straights, and of course, there is that long, long straight from turn 13 all the way down to turn 14. 54% of the lap being full throttle. 51 is the average amount of gear changes needed for this track, as we are now in the session in a very dull looking Chinese Grand Prix, which is very interesting to see, as I'm going to get everything up now. Hopefully the audio should be coming through, because like I said, I have tested and it should be working, but we're not so sure. I'm waiting to see cars, hopefully, driving out. Yes, there is audio, because I hear stuff. I see the lines. It is working. That is good. However, I'm a bit quiet, so I'm going to turn myself up just a tiny little bit, as we have one driver going out, and that is going to be the Alpha Tauri driver in a nice green livery representing, of course, CGT Esports. It is going to be Alpha Gully. So volume should be fine now. And we have audio. Okay, I'm so happy that it's actually working now. Okay, so we have audio, which is brilliant to see. So Alpha Gully is just going around the first few corners now. Of course, he is going to be the first driver, and no other driver is actually out. As it stands, he is currently just going around to turn 7. Of course, there's 16 corners on this track, 7 to the left and 9 to the right. We're going to be, of course, doing the 18-minute qualifying session, and then we will have 28 laps of racing here today. The track was built, of course, the Shanghai International Circuit was built in 1996. However, the first Grand Prix wasn't held until 8 years later in 2004. They did try to get the Grand Prix held in 2000. However, unfortunately, due to the track's regulations, it didn't meet the F1 regulations. Unfortunately, it had to be cancelled. However, the track got modified and updated, and then the first Grand Prix was 2004. Of course, as we saw in the track preview, the track went 5.451 kilometers or 3.387 miles feels long. As the game sounds a bit loud, so I am going to turn it down very slightly. Hopefully that should be fine. So Alpha Gully will be our first driver to start a lap time. So we're going to ride on board with him as he goes around the final corner to open up the DRS for the first time and going down into the right-hander of turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3. This is probably one of the longest corners there is on the whole entire track as he now goes round turn 3 and turn 4. Want to go slightly wide on the exit and then tuck into the inside of the track. You then go around turn 5, enter in sector 2. It's currently a 24.115 for Alpha Gully as he currently goes round turn 6. And then, of course, you want to run wide on the exit and go to the right hand side of the track, then set yourself up for the left hander next of turn 7. And then you want to go into the right hander down into 5th gear for turn 8, and then you've got turn 9 and turn 10, the two swooping corners. You want to be near full on the throttle going into turn 10 as Alpha Gully does do that. He enters sector 3 with a 51.357. He goes around turn 11 and turn 12, and then another right-hander, a long right-hander of turn 13. And now he's going to open up the DRS for the second time very, very soon as he now enters onto the 1.2 mile long straight. It's a very, very long straight consisting nearly of a third of the whole entire track, the straight alone, as he goes into the braking point down into 3rd gear of turn 14 and turn 15. And he's got one final corner on this lap as you go to the right hand side of the track to make the left corner. Alpha Gully opens up the DRS for the third and final time on this lap. Round turn 16 is going to be a 1:31.482 to start us off. We're then going to be followed by Lynx, who is then on a lap just behind him. He is now going to be opening up the DRS in a second. Just turning down the audio just a slight bit more. There we go, that should be fine. As Lynx is now going round the few final corners. It didn't look great there out into turn 14. What is he going to be able to do though? Round the last corner, what can Lynx do? It's going to be across the line and it's going to be a 31.464. He beats Alpha Gully by a few thousandths of a second, but then there is a flying lap from the ex-esports driver. It's Jakku with a 30.753. It's an astonishing lap there from the ex-esports driver as he goes P1, and we're followed behind by ETA Oscar going P2 with a 30.807. We have our former championship leader and the man fighting for the championship, Jeslar, going up into P3 with a 30.873. Jordan's P4 with a 31.1. Medge is P5 with a 31.4. Lynx is P6 with a 31.4. Alpha Gully is P7 with also a 31.4. Oesi a 32, and Nerazinho with a 43.7. Definitely a few mistakes in that lap time. As Sem, the other man fighting for the championship, our current championship leader, goes up into P4 in this qualifying session, of course, on his first lap. It's a 31.044. It does put him around a tenth and a half behind, over a tenth and a half behind his championship rival Jesler, who currently sits in P3. But it's an absolutely brilliant lap for Jakku, which of course is going to see him be just under, or actually just over, half a tenth clear of Oscar. And then as you can see, Jesler is just over a tenth behind, and Sem is nearly 3 tenths behind. So it's a brilliant lap for Jakku on the first one, as that could potentially have been a quality block there. I'm not entirely sure, as Dankos, I believe, is on a lap currently, as he is going onto the DRS straight. Hopefully the audio is okay, as Dankos is now going to be going round turn 14, thankfully not locking up. As he now goes round the final corner, you can see there's a bit of a mess there in the pit lane. As he now goes across the line, it's a 31.149 for Dankos. It's going to be P6. So the mid of the pack as it stands right now. That audio hopefully should be fine. So Pretty much every single driver has now finished their first lap. Abel, I think, will be starting a lap time soon. He's actually in the beautiful Gulf Williams livery, which of course we have self-featured in Japan and Singapore by the Williams team in the real F1. Alpha Gully is out. He is on an out lap now, going to be starting his second lap time soon. Abel has not set a lap time as it stands, so he is now just coming across the line to start his lap. So we're going to ride on board with him and see what he can do. So sector 1, he's going around turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3. You want to be going down to third gear here. You can be very easy and also very harsh on the throttle and the brake around those few corners. However, Abel has a little moment there on the exit, but I think it's actually helped him as he goes round turn 5 now, and it's a 24.170 in the first sector as he now goes round turn 6, of course. Abel is, I'm just trying to check what car he is because you don't know. Abel, I believe, is in the Williams. He's a Williams driver and he's in the Williams Gulf livery. So it's actually quite ironic about that. So he's now going around turn 9 and turn 10, the final few corners in the second sector. It's a 51.711 as it stands right now. Heading into sector 3, he goes around to turn 11, turn 12, and then turn 13 as he takes a wide line. You would ideally want to be going to the inside of the track there for the better line, but he does not decide to do that as he now opens up the DRS for the second and final time on this lap as he now goes down into the final few corners, turn 14 and turn 15. He looks to have done it quite nicely, and it's one corner remaining between Abel and setting a valid lap time as he now goes round the final corner. It's not invalidated, so Abel will finish his lap time. It's going to be a 32.3. It will only promote him to P11 as it stands, up 2 positions. Of course, he was P13 before. Unfortunately, just haven't thought to mention this. The attendance again is not great. It's 13 drivers again. I believe we had 13 last week. We were supposed to have had 15, but a few dropouts have meant we are now only sitting on 13, unfortunately. As we're now going to ride on board with the TGT esports driver of Alpha Gully, who is, of course, currently as Alpha Gully going to be opening up the DRS very, very soon. He might, no, I was going to say he might get slipstream from a few of those drivers, but they pull to the side of the, they pull over to the side of the track so that he cannot get any slipstream. And of course, slipstream would be so powerful at this track, but it's very tough to know who is your teammate. I think maybe potentially we might see a Jordan and Medj like slipstream help. I don't know. However, Alpha Gully going around the final corner now. It's looking like a great lap time from the AlphaTauri driver across the line. He is going to find 3.5 tenths of an improvement, and it's going to be P6 for the AlphaTauri driver and the TGT esports driver. It's P6. 200th behind Jordan. It's a 31.135. As I'm trying to see who is next on a lap time, and I believe it is Jaku who is going to be starting a lap time very soon. And then it is followed by Jesler. Jesler is in the Britain Grand Prix Williams livery. However, he is a Red Bull driver and he is trying to help Red Bull win the Constructors' Championship, not only in real life but in F8 and PSGL this season. As Jesler was not improving in the second sector, so unless he can find time in this last sector, well, to be fair, he only needs to find about a tenth and a half to go up onto provisional pole. But Jesler, round the final corner now, it's going to be a valid lap time. Across the line, is Jesler going to improve? He will. It's just under a tenth of improvement, but it's not going to be able to beat Jaku. It's going to be a 30.782. It will see him go 28 thousandths behind Jaku's time. But now, Oscar across the line, and it's an absolutely flying lap. It's a 30.523. It's going to see him go nearly 2.5 tenths clear of Jaku behind. It's a brilliant lap time from the newly ET8 driver is next to Sem, who finds exactly 4/10 of an improvement and goes up into P2. It's a 30.644 for the McLaren driver. It will see him go just over a tenth short of beating Oscar, but it's a brilliant lap time there from the McLaren driver. There was drivers finishing lap times left, right, and centre. Lynx finds more time. He gets up into P5 out of nowhere. I believe Owesi was finishing a lap time there. I could be wrong though, as we're going to ride on board with Jakku, who does not seem to be improving. He might have backed out of his lap time as it stands. Yes, he has. So Jakku, who went provisional pole on his first lap, now in P3 after not being able to improve on his second lap time. Lynx, of course, went up into P5. Jordan is in the pit lane. He has not improved. Dankos is on a lap time, I believe. He's 62 thousandths down in the second sector. So unless he can find a lot more time right now in the final sector, Dankos will currently still be sitting in P8. However, a slight improvement and it's potentially P6. So Dankos across the line, he does find that slight bit of time, and it is going to put him ahead of Jordan in Alpha Gully. It's 0.003 of a second faster than Jordan, but he will go up into P6. So it's a good lap time there from, I believe, the reserve driver, one of the only reserve drivers we actually have here today with us. As Medj, I believe, is on a lap right now. He's going down the DRS straight. I could be wrong though. His ERS isn't going down, so I believe he isn't on a lap. Oesi is not either, so I believe that is the second lap times done, and everyone is now just going to be entering the pit lane for them to get the new tyres on, the new pair of soft tyres, and then we will have one final shootout between all the drivers for the final lap and a pole position at China in FA in season 34. And hello to everyone who is in the stream. Like I said in the chat at the very start of the stream, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like the stream and subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel. We have just recently reached quite a big milestone, in fact, of 41,000 subscribers. We currently sit at 41,300 subscribers exactly, actually. So why not we get that a few more? So don't forget to subscribe, as I see a few likes coming in. Thank you everybody for the likes on the stream. Abel is on a lap time. He might actually only be going for 2 lap times and maybe saving a set of softs to the race as the strategy. I will mention it very, very soon, as Abel is 23 thousandths of a second down on his lap time in the first sector. So he now going around sector 2, turn 7, turn 8, and into turn 9 and turn 10 as we're right on board with him, so you can see what the track is like. You want to be going near full throttle there, and just as you are doing mid-rotation through turn 10, you want to go full on the throttle. Abel, 3.5 tenths up in the second sector, so clearly he hasn't had a great second or third sector on this track. However, that will only keep him P12 as it stands. He takes a wide line again through turn 13. I'm a bit confused to why he does that. However, he opens up the DRS now for the final time on his final lap, because he will not get time to do one more lap time. So Abel having to send the car into every single corner. It's the final 3 corners, turn 14, turn 15, and now turn 16. Can Abel find about 6 tenths to move up any positions across the line? Abel does find time, but it's not going to be enough to promote himself in any positions. He will be starting from at least P12 unless Wessel finds a better time than Abel. So Abel, P12 or P13. Every single driver is now out on the lap. If you're wondering why Wessel's only out now, is he's actually having a little fight there with someone on track. If you don't know why Wessel hasn't set a lap time as it stands, he has been eating. So, oh no, please don't quali block. I don't want a restart, to be honest. I really don't, because this might go towards a qualifying block. I hope not, but anyway. Next driver who's going to be on a lap time, on their final lap time I should say, is going to be the TGT esports driver. It's been Abel and then Alpha Gully every single time. So Alpha Gully is going to be starting his final lap time. It's then followed by Jakku and then Jordan. So we'll go to those two just shortly after. Alpha Gully, then Jakku, then Jordan. So Alpha Gully, I didn't see what his time was in the first sector. Actually, no, it's now. And it is a 10th.5 improvement. However, he has went wide there, and that would have lost him a bit of time. That's wide at turn 6 for Alpha Gully. He was a 10th.5 up, which would have saw him go up into potentially like a P5 position. But with that mistake at turn 6, he now might not even be up on his lap time. As he goes around turn 9 and turn 10 now, I wouldn't be surprised if Alpha Gully is currently down on his lap time. Entering sector 3, Alpha Gully is down by nearly a 10th on his lap time. The checkered flag is now being woven, so Abel will not be getting another lap time in, and now all the drivers have to completely push the car to the limits. So Alpha Gully opening up the DRS for the final time in this qualifying session. Can he make significant improvement? Because if he gets a 10th, just more than a 10th, he's up into P5 as it stands. So just a slight improvement. He goes deep into turn 14, however, so Alpha Gully could potentially not be improving on his lap time, and although he would literally need to find a few hundredths to find positions, as he invalidates on his lap time round the final corner, he doesn't improve on his lap time, however, but it's Jakku who's next, and he, across the line, can he improve? Yes, it's P2, a 2/10 improvement for him. However, we quickly jump to Jordan, who's across the line. He goes up into P4. It's a good lap time there from him. It's then followed by Lynx, who is going to be coming across the line. Where is he going to go? It's going to be P6 for him still. OSE is next. He's going to stay in P10. We then have Jesler, I believe, up into P3. It's a 2.5 improvement for him. But then we have the man on provisional pole. He does not improve. Oscar does not improve. Sem, can he improve? No. Sem does improve, sorry, but it's not any positions improvement. It's Dankos across the line, P5 for him, and we've got two final drivers. We've got Wessel across the line, he's P11, and there's Zinho, the final man to finish a lap time, P12. He stays P12. So it's going to be the ET8 driver of Oscar on pole position, followed by then Jakku in P2. As you can see the times here, look at the gaps, half a 10th gap between P1 and P4. The qualifying session is so close, and that is what we love about F8. A quarter of a second gap between P1 and P6. That is astonishing. So it's Oscar on pole position, followed by Jakku on the right hand side of Oscar in P2. We then have the championship rivals covering the second row, Jeslar and Sem. We then have Dankos and Jordan in P5 and P6, Lynx in P7, Medj in P8, Alpha Gully P9, and the Wesley P10, followed by then Wessel, Narzinho, and Abel in P11, P12, and P13. Wow. So, what a qualifying session that was. We are just going to stay here for now, because I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the strategies. However, it could maybe be a wet race, so I'm not going to say anything until I see. Oh my goodness, this is maybe why the times are so bunched up together. We have a wet race, ladies and gentlemen. I did not know this. Has there been any messages about it? There has been. And I just did not see them. So it looks like we're going to be having a inter race, because it doesn't look really wet on track. So my guess is that it's going to be intermediate conditions. So now the strategies, which I was about to say to you, have completely been thrown out the window, because now the compounds C4, C3, and C2, C4 being the soft, C3 being the medium, and C2 being the hard, it does not matter, because we've got a wet race. However, it could go dry, but we're just going to have to wait and see with how the track evolution ends up going. However, we should be starting very shortly, so don't go anywhere, because in a few seconds time, if everyone loads up and they get the fuel set and the tires set, and maybe they change a few things on their setup. Of course, Park Ferme is on, so you can't change as much. However, hello to everyone who's just tuning in. We're just about to go underway for F8 this season in PSGL on the PlayStation side, of course, of PSGL. We have a wet race. We've got 28 laps at China, as here are the lights, as we have 3, 4, 5 red lights in China in F8. It's lights out and away we go. And who's going to get the better start between Oscar and Jakku? I believe it is Oscar. It's Jakku who hasn't had the greatest of starts. And there goes Jesler trying to go up into P2. Jakku and Jesler side by side through turn 2. As Jesler is being pushed out wide by Jakku, and that is Sem and Dankos, I believe, going side by side in the background. We then have Medj and Jordan behind, going side by side as well. But Oscar leads the way. Jakku P2, Jesler P3. Is somebody who's round in the background? That is Dankos. Dankos is to the back of the grid. As Sem has managed to get past Jesler, and Jesler is now under pressure by the Alpine drivers. The Alpine drivers are in the pink Alpine, which is nice to see, but they were having a few battles there. But Wessels had an absolutely terrific start because he is all of a sudden in P7 battling for P8 with Lynx. However, Lynx has went off. Lynx made a bit of contact there with Wessel, and the contact has led him going completely off track, and he's now fallen to the back of the grid. But Wessel, what a start for him. Up into P7 for him. However, Oscar is somewhat flying ahead because he right now already has a 1 second gap to Jakku behind. So it's a brilliant start for the ET8 driver. Jakku keeping the drivers behind at a distance. Of course, this would now be the DRS straight, but now that's an inter race, there is going to be no DRS whatsoever, as we can see the slipstream train all the way from the back of the grid to the front of the grid, every single driver being on the straight. What a camera angle you can see there. So what a first lap. We see Dankos and Lynx spin, we see Oscar and Jakku keep the same position, we see Jesler getting overtaken by his championship rival of Sem, as we now go on to lap 2. Just had to get a little breather there. It was a brilliant, brilliant first lap. With, of course, Oscar leading the way. Jakku shortly behind. Sem also somewhat behind. Jakku has had a crucial mistake there. He's fallen back about 4/10 out of the exit of turn 4, I believe that was. And now Sem is much, much closer to the rear of Jakku. Sem is now 5/10 behind the ex-esports driver. However, actually Sem is also ex-esports, so I can't really say much. Will they be working together? No, because they're not in the same team technically. As it looks like, just by that, possible strategies, it might be a wet race the whole entire time, as it's given us a enter or a enter strategy. So, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and find out for the race, but maybe that is why qualifying was so close together, because everyone has had a wet setup on. So the setups, some people have had to compromise their setups, and we saw some drivers higher than we would usually see because of the varying setups. Some might be more downforce, some might be more straight line speed in this inner race. We are not so sure. But Oscar doing a little drift around turn 14 there. It's actually gained him a lot of time. Actually, no, he's lost a few tenths there because of that mistake. As actually Oscar goes wide there. That could be a warning for the ETA Esports driver as he sets the fastest lap of the race. However, it gets stolen by Jesler, who goes 3 times faster than Oscar. So Jesler clearly showing he's got some pace. He didn't use much ERS either. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. As, I mean, I was going to say there's a DRS train from P1 to P6, but there is no DRS. However, it's still a beautiful train though, from P11 all the way up into P1. You can pretty much see every single driver on, say, on the back straight. You can see every single driver. As Alpha Gully and Owesi, they're having a little scrap. It's through turn 6, and it's Owesi trying to get ahead of Alpha Gully, and he's actually done so. Owesi's ahead of Alpha Gully, but Alpha Gully's trying to go around the outside, which will then turn into the inside, and what an overtake for Alpha Gully there. However, Owesi's actually going to stick it, and through turn 9 and turn 10 they go. Is Owesi going to be able to look for the move? No. Alpha Gully manages to defend the position. What some battling there between those two drivers. Very clean and very nice. But Alpha Gully manages to defend P9. Wessel is somewhat struggling. He's slightly fallen behind off the back of Jordan and Medj, as he's now 1.8 seconds back. And Nerazinho is right there looking to get the overtake. He's got the ERS on, and it's going to be somewhat simple there for the newly RCR driver, I believe. However, Wessel having a little bit more slipstream there. Is he going to send it potentially into turn 14? Thankfully, he does not. So Narazinho is now up into P7 for this Grand Prix. As, like I was saying, with Narazinho, I don't know if it's getting announced soon. It should have already been announced, as Wessels actually went off track there. But DRS has been enabled. So the track is already drying up, ladies and gentlemen, then. So unless that's just a weird glitch, it's now been enabled on a wet track. So actually, DRS chain matters, and it will be a top 6, as Nerazinho and Wessel were having a few little fights there. Nerazinho managing to defend the position from Wessel right now for P7. But with DRS enabled on this, I mean, that must be a glitch, because there's no way DRS is enabled on this track. It's inter conditions, although it is lap 4, so it would make sense. I'm not sure. If it is though, we're gonna have to wait and find out until the DRS straight, of course, from turn 13 down into turn 14. As Jakku looks to be getting DRS, Sem too, Jesler, Jordan and Medj, they will all be getting DRS. Of course, Oscar won't because he is leading the way. But yeah, Jakku apparently should be getting DRS. We will have to wait and see. Is DRS enabled? Wow, it is. So there is DRS on a somewhat wet track, as Jakku has the DRS wide open, as that's actually Jordan potentially going to look for a move on Jesler. Jesler having to try break the slipstream because of it. Jesler gets very close to his championship rival there, as he had to defend from Jordan behind, as he nearly made contact with Sem. Alpha Gully and Nerazinho and even Wessel are all fighting now. There's a move for the lead though, but Alpha Gully, Nerazinho both crash and they're into the wall. It's a bit of contact there between the two drivers, and unfortunately they're in the wall. But this is maybe why, because everyone is now entering into the pit lane to go onto the dry tyres. However, Jakku decides to stay out. The track did not look like it was drying fast enough, but it looks like it has, because right now most of the drivers are going to be going on to the hard competent tyres. No, some are going on to the mediums, so we might see some medium softs from now potentially, as Oscar now enters out into technically the provisional race, the net race lead, as then it's followed by Sem, followed by then Jesler, who's decided to go into the hard compound tyres. The hards though, well, do not go to the end from here. So I don't know what Jesler's tactic is, because he's kind of set himself up in not a great position here, because the hards, you know, they're not going to go to the end. So we're just going to have to wait and see what his plan potentially is. However, there's a few battles happening throughout the field. That was Lynx managing to get past Wessie, and now Dankos is also trying to look to get past Wessie. Is he going to be able to do so? Yes, he is. Lynx actually paid one lap earlier onto the mediums, and it's actually ended up working out quite well for him, because he's now back up into P8 of this race. However, Jakku struggling with those inter tyres up ahead. Jakku's not going to set himself up well here, because as you can see, he's drifting all around the place. Round turn 14 he goes. The gap, the pit lost time, by the way, I have to say this, is 23 seconds. So as it stands, Jakku could potentially be coming out in P6. He's went massively off the track there in the pit lane, as Jordan and Jesler are now fighting. Both Alpine drivers are trying to get past Jesler, and have they done so? Yes, they have. So brilliant teamwork between the Alpine drivers there. Both of them getting past our former championship leader Jesler, who of course unfortunately missed the previous two races. Jesler going slightly off track there. Jakku now into the pit lane. He's on the mediums. He should be coming up behind Jesler, I believe. And yes, he is. And he's quite a bit behind as well. He's got to pick up the pace, because although he has a somewhat comfortable gap to Wessel behind, he has to catch up and try to get the DRS from the drivers ahead. As I now go back to intervals, so we can see the time gaps, as Oscar is leading the way by 1.7 seconds to Sem as it stands. So Sem is not going to be getting any DRS, but so is not. But Jordan is also not going to be getting any DRS. Sorry, my English there. I was trying to figure out how to say that. Jordan looks to also be not getting any DRS as well, because he is 1.2 seconds out of the time range from Sem. However, the drivers behind, well, the two drivers behind, will be getting DRS. So it'll be very interesting to see if there's any moves there potentially between the Alpine teammates and also Jesler as well, who's of course on those hard competent tires. He's not doing himself a beneficial strategy because of the decision he's decided to do. Alpha Gully having a moment at the back there. There was yellow flags, maybe a little moment, but of course he's P13 as it stands. The Alpine teammates not making any switch for now. Jordan is going to continue in P3 for now, with Medj following behind in P4. Jesler struggling to stay in that DRS range as Sem sets the fastest lap. He's burning quite a bit of DRS. Sem has picked up the pace because Sem all of a sudden is now in the DRS range of Oscar ahead. So Sem, who said this is an awful track, might actually like this track because his pace seems to be nearly one of the fastest on track today. So it'll be very interesting to see if he's going to get DRS, and currently it looks like he will be. So we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. So yeah, Sem will look to be getting DRS. Don't tell me that was spits of rain. No way does it go enter to dry and then back to enter. I think I was just seeing things, but it isn't sunny. That's the thing. This could easily go back to intermediate race. However, what we do care about now is that Sem has gotten DRS in the back of Oscar. He's gained nearly a second over the last lap already to Oscar, and he's now got the DRS wide open with the slipstream assist, of course. The Alpine drivers are making a switch. Is Sem going to look for a move on Oscar? He does not, but like I said, the Alpine drivers make the switch. Medj up into P3, Jordan following behind in P4. Jesler might just get DRS. It's going to be so close. He might have just got it. Yes, he has. He's just managed to get it. Sem is gaining so much to the rear of Oscar here. Oscar is under a lot of immense pressure from Sem, as they're just getting so close to each other as it stands right now. But Sem, Oscar leading the way. He's pretty much led the way nearly every single lap, of course, except for when Jaku didn't decide to pit. Nerazinho, by the way, ended up going into the pit lane again, but could be a strategical play because he will now look to potentially go to the end on those hard competent tires. Not sure though, but we're just going to have to wait and see what the strategy plays out for him, as Medj has burned his ERS, because maybe that was the plan, because Medj had a lot more ERS than Jordan did, and he's now got in the DRS range. So now we have a top 5 DRS train, which is what we love to see. Jesler's managed to get the DRS as well, by the way, so this will be very interesting. Will Sem potentially look for a lead for the race? We're going to have to wait and find out. Most of the drivers here are not using the ERS, they're just trying to save, but here goes Sem. He's gaining on Oscar, and he's going to send it on the inside. Oscar does not fight it at all, and Sem, the ex-esports driver, is now up into the lead of the race, followed by then of course Oscar in P2. There's quite a few battles here. Wessel and Dankos fighting for P7. Dankos has passed Wessel and up into P7, and then also Owesi and Lynx fighting for P9. Owesi is up into P9. I believe he overtook Lynx or was defending the position, I'm not entirely sure, but there goes Wessel back on Dankos on the main straight. Wessel passed again, but Dankos is going to look for it on the inside potentially. It's going to be close. There is a slight bit of contact between the two drivers. It looks like Wessel will defend the position though. Nerazinho has unfortunately went off there at turn 13. So that's unfortunate for the Williams driver. He might potentially retire. I'm not entirely sure. But Sem still leading the way. But look at the ERS, by the way. Oscar is on 100%. He hasn't used a single, but if he has used, he's just regenerated it all back. So yeah, Oscar's definitely playing it strategical here. Nerazinho has went off again, so he might retire here. Is he going to? I think he will as he enters into the pit lane. Well, we have a safety car, ladies and gentlemen. Um, wow. So, hello, Ace. Maybe you just saw what happened there. We now have a safety car, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, wow, what just happened there? Most of the drivers are now going to be entering the pit lane. This will be, of course, to go on the hard tyres until the end of the race. As Pratik is saying, where's Goatmere in the gang? Like I said earlier, this isn't PCF1. If you read the title, this is PlayStation F8. So you'd have to wait until... What day is PSGL's? Wednesday? I think I'm correct with that. Not entirely sure. Anyway, Oscar... Oscar's on another set of mediums. Okay. Has Oscar forgot about the tire compound thing? Where you have to use two different compounds of dries? Or does it not count when... Wait, does it not count when does an enter start to the race? Ace, tell me. Am I right in saying that Oscar should have... He was on the mediums before, and he's now went on to another set of mediums. It was enter at the start, then he's done medium. But shouldn't he have done hard? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, Sem's on hards, Oscar's then on mediums, the two Alpines on the hards, and then Jesler, who's somehow going to have to take these mediums past their limit. It's going to be super, super tough for him, as I believe the medium tyres, the maximum range for them is about 17 laps. If it rains, the rule doesn't really count. He's been on two compounds, entering mediums. So, wow. So, everyone could have actually been on mediums. It's just... Compounds doesn't matter. Okay, so wow. So, Oscar actually knows the game. and he's went onto the mediums again. Whereas everyone has went onto the opposite tyre. Like, everyone who was on the mediums is now on the hards. And everyone who was on the hards is now on the mediums. But Oscar's just went medium. Everyone's probably confused, but Oscar, fair play, maybe getting engineered, I'm not entirely sure. I was actually going to mention this. Oscar potentially has a chance here today to take P3, potentially even P4 in the championship. Actually not P3, but he can potentially overtake Jordan. Jordan could also potentially look to overtake BR4. If anyone doesn't know, BR4 unfortunately not here today. He's been sat in P3 of the championship for I think pretty much the whole entire season. However, he hasn't been here the last few races because of work, and now potentially might get overtaken soon. Hopefully he's here for the last round in a week's time, of course. Next week for Abu Dhabi, round 12 of 12. As, yeah, just looking at the championship standings right now. Sem, of course, is leading the way, 93 points, followed by Jesler on 89. That is the main championship battle. Sem currently leading, Jesler in P5 of this race. BR4 is then in P3, unfortunately not here today. It's then followed by Jordan in P4. He currently sits in P4 in the race. Oscar is then in P5 in the championship, followed by then Jimmy, who is unfortunately not here today. Then we have Medj in P7, then the reserve driver of Felix, who unfortunately isn't here. Then we have Jakku in P9, and then Alpha Gully in P10. So that's the top 10 in the championship. Of course, like I said in the constructors, it's a fight between McLaren, AlphaTauri, Alpine and Red Bull. 6 points separating all those teams. A safety car is going to be in this lap, so the field will now be majorly slowed down. Sem was actually going maybe a bit too slow there, but we're just going to have to wait and see how he controls the field. He's going about 70 miles an hour, which is fine, I would say. As of course everyone is now joined on to the back. It's going to be very interesting because, as you can see, every single driver Lynx is just heating the tyres, everyone. Don't mind him. Lynx having a little spin at the back. So yeah, Semba's going to lead the way. He is going somewhat fast as well. Currently currently going 60 miles per hour. Safety car is now into the pit lane, so I believe he can go whenever he wants to now. The question is, when will he go? And he's going to go now, just after the exit of turn 14, actually turn 15 really to be specific. But Oscar is right behind him as we are back underway for this race, and Oscar may potentially look for a move on Sem. He's got the slipstream, and into the first few corners, is Oscar going to look for a move instantly on the medium compound tyres? He's not going to as of yet, but he will definitely look for that move and try make the second gap to Sem before DRS enabled. As the two Alpine drivers sitting behind as it stands right now in P3 and P4. Jezor will also look to try get moves soon as he's on those mediums. However, he wants to try control those mediums, of course, until the end of this race. Jakku fallen a bit behind there off the restart. He's nearly out that 1 second gap already. So maybe just not a great restart there for the Haas driver and also the eSports driver. So Oscar's all over the rear of Sem here. It's actually scary how close he is, as Oscar will definitely look for a move probably here on the back straight, the 1.2 mile long straight. He's got the ERS turned on. Sem isn't really using much, and Oscar is going to fly past. Oscar now back up into the lead of the race in lap 12. Is he going to be able to lead the whole rest of the race though? We're going to have to wait and find out. Sem is going to now be down into P2. He's going to stay P2 as it stands though. Medj and Jordan not looking for any moves right now. Probably going to work together to try to fend off Jezler more than anything, actually. It would be cool to see how much warnings everyone has, but of course don't want to check that when I'm the main spectator. I'm the one who's controlling the cameras, of course. So I'm just looking through the field. Dankos is slowly catching Wessel. He's actually all over the rear there of Wessel. Might actually look for a move potentially. Into turn 6. He's too far back to look for any move right now, I think. Yeah, as you can see the smoke. The smoke when people lock up on this game is unbelievable. It's like you cannot see whatsoever. The smoke is so thick, it's so hard to see. However, look at this gap at the front. Oscar's trying to get that 1 second gap, and he's already nearly done it. And we've still got a lap to go until the DRS is enabled. It's currently a 9/10 gap between these two drivers. Now a second. So very, very crucial for Oscar, who of course is trying to use these medium tyres as best as he can at the start of the race. And then eventually they will degrade and Sem's tyres will become much better, but he wants that confident gap. We're just going to have to wait and see how it ends up going. So I'm just trying to see any moves. Dankos very, very close to Wessel again. Might actually look for a move here, potentially into the first few corners. Wessel using a bit of ERS though, but Dankos using a bit more. The ERS is now enabled. That's actually a side-by-side here between Jezler and Jordan. Jordan's trying to stick the position on Jezler. Jezler has a snap through turn 2. He manages to save the car, however, but it's a good save from Jezler, but no positions gained for him as of yet. Dankos and Wessel, however, going side by side. That is going to be down into turn 6 for these two drivers. There's even a side-by-side behind between Abel and Oesi, as Wessel is somewhat forced off track by Dankos there, and Dankos is going to now be up into P7. Abel manages to also get past Oesi. Of course, Abel's on those mediums as well, so he wants to use them as best as he can before they start to die out later on in the race. As going back to the front, Oscar has pulled a 1.7 second gap to Sem, so Sem will not have any DRS whatsoever, as Medj and the many drivers behind will have DRS. It's going to be a P2 to P6 DRS train right now. However, Wessel is round, and that's a really, really weird place to go off the track, as that's like mid-turn 13. It's a really weird place. But it's unfortunate for Wessel, because of course he was fighting with Dankos, and now he's down in P12, out of the point as it stands. So, I mean, I don't even know who really to watch anymore. I'm just going to ride on board with Sem, I think, right now, because Sem is the man really controlling the field. Wessel has unfortunately entered the pit lane, and he will retire from the race. Unfortunate to see he's left the session to maybe contact with Dankos. We're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, really unfortunate there for the ex-esports driver who didn't have the greatest of qualifying. Of course, was P11, had a great start though, was up into P6, P7, fighting for those midfield positions, but of course that bit of contact potentially in the spin has led to him now retiring in the pit lane. So yeah, Sem is going to have a lot of pressure behind, because Medj is going to look for a position potentially. Jordan is going to be gaining a lot of time, because he's going to be using ERS and DRS to defend off Jesler, who's then behind, who's on the mediums and looking to get past. So we're going to ride on board with Sem, and we'll see what the view is like behind his rear wing, as he's trying to break the toe in the slipstream between him and Medj, as he actually does do that. As Jesler out of nowhere is trying to send up the inside of Jordan. There's a massive amount of contact there. Jesler could have potentially even got front wing damage from that. However, he stays in P5 as it stands, as Jakku so close to getting DRS there because of the small incident there between Jesler and Jordan. He's 1.1 seconds out. Dankos is also very close to getting the DRS on Jakku, so we could potentially soon see a P2 to potentially a P7 DRS train, which would be very cool to see. As if anyone is just tuning in now, hello and welcome to PSGL PlayStation F8, as Lynx has unfortunately now just retired in the pit lane. He hasn't had the greatest of races either right now, and now we only have 10 drivers remaining, so if you finish this race you're scoring points. So in other words, if you spin, don't rage quit. So yeah, if anyone is just tuning in out, hello and welcome to PSGL PlayStation F8. Of course, we're here for the penultimate round. We're here for round 11 of 12 in China, where we see currently Oscar leading the way by 2.5 seconds to Sem. Of course, the medium tyres compared to the hards, very different. Sem, our current championship leader, trying to make the gap slightly larger to Jesler, who is of course also in this race, currently sitting in P5 on those mediums as well. He will look for the move eventually. However, look for the move for P2. This is a new hard compound tyre runner in P2, and it's going to be the Alpine driver of Medj. So Medj now in P2, and now there's going to be a bit of defensive work here, I believe, because Medj will now defend off Sem to try get Jordan in the best possible position to look for a move on Sem. As now this whole field is going to be bunched up together. Jakku has gotten DRS now, so we're seeing now a P2 to P6 DRS trains. This is what, 12 points, 10 points, 8 points, 6 points, and 5 points, all up for grabs here in these positions in this DRS train. As Medj is beginning to somewhat gain on Oscar ahead. Oscar, I mean, the mediums are already 7 laps old, but the mediums, like I said, they do suffer. They barely go about 17 laps, and that is if you have quite high tyre pressures. So I'll be very interested to see whether or not the likes of Oscar and Jesler and Abel are able to take these tyres as long as they can. So we see Oscar there having a bit of a snap there. He controls the car well though, and actually he's gaining time to Medj as it stands right now. So very interesting to see. The gap nearly 3 seconds as Medj has gotten a 5/10 gap now to Sem, as here goes Jordan behind, who might actually look for the move here. I'm not entirely sure, because Sem's having to use a slight sorry, that was like a sneeze and a cough. I'm not entirely sure what that was. As Sem decides to not look for the move right now on Medj, he slightly backs off. as now Jakku is rightfully so in this DRS train. He's caught up right to the rear of the Red Bull driver Jesler, who currently sits at P5 on those mediums. So yeah, this is the battle which we love to see. P2 to P6, this is the DRS trains which we love to see throughout any tier in racing. Just look at P2 to P5, it's literally less than a second separating them. P2 to P6 even now. As it's such close racing right now. We're just going to ride on board with Medj for now, who is of course, forgetting Oscar, is leading the way in this DRS train. The gap between Medj and Oscar is staying somewhat in the similar region of 2.8 to 2.9 seconds. Sem losing a bit of time to Medj ahead. Medj is trying to push, I think, to try help and benefit Jordan, his teammate, who is going to try look to get past Sem eventually for P3 in this race. Sem has now fallen nearly 9 times back from Medj, so this might be striking time for Jordan because he's already got the ERS on. He's going to go full ERS and DRS deployment as Jordan is going to have to go for the inside line here. He's going to go side by side with Sem into turn 14. Who's going to end up ahead? And I believe it's going to be Jordan who's going to just somewhat get ahead, but actually he has a moment out of the corner on the exit through turn 15. And it's actually going to be Sem who stays ahead. But now Sem having to use a bit of ERS to try get a comfortable gap to Medj. That was very, very close between these two drivers, as Jordan might look for a move on the inside, potentially. So close to contact between these two. But thankfully, there is none, as we are now 19 laps in to a 28 lap race, just over 2/3 of the way done, as it is now 8:03 in the UK. For the other drivers, I am not entirely sure, because we have a bunch of different nationalities here. Oscar, I believe, is like, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think he's like Norwegian or something. I know Medj and Jordan are Swedish. I know Sem is Swedish. Jesler is British? I'm not sure. I'm gonna stop guessing because I'm definitely getting these wrong. However, Medj, of course, still leading this DRS train as it stands. Sem will be gaining onto the back of him with DRS. He is tucking out the slipstream though, so he doesn't look to want the move on Medj. He slightly lifts off there. So yeah, Sem, I believe, is just wanting to harvest his ERS now. As Oscar managing the tyres somewhat well, however, the mediums definitely are going to start dying off soon, as there's actually something happened there. Jesler is in the pit lane. What has happened here? Jesler all of a sudden entered the pit lane. Jesler doesn't think he's going to go to the end on these tyres, so now he switches to another pair of mediums. Am I missing something, or... Hold on. There's a chance Sem can actually take this championship all this week. Because Jesler pitting... Okay, Jesler pitting means he's going to get 1 point, so he goes to 90, so it's in... So, Sem needs to get P... If Sem can win... If Sem wins today, he wins the championship because of Jesler pitting. Oh my goodness, it might end this week. All of a sudden, with Jesler pitting, the medium's not been able to go to the end. Okay, this is... Okay. So... Oh my days, this is just all of a sudden got so much more interesting. So, if Sem ends in P2, for example, we'll just say, it's actually Sem is gaining onto the back of Medj. We shouldn't be them right on board with Jesler. However, it's now a top 6 DRS train. Dankos has actually caught up, so it would have been a top 7 DRS train. P2 to P7, sorry, it's now P2 to P6 because Jesler pitting. So, bear with me as I'm trying to get the maths right. So Sem right now is going to gain 10 points, which will put him to 103 points. Jezzer will gain 1, which will put him to 90. So it'll be a 13-point gap, near confirming Sem's championship win. All he would need to do next week, I believe, is get like a P7 or higher, and Sem would win the championship. That's if he finishes P3. Oh yeah, that's if he finishes P3. If Sem finishes P2, he will gain 12 points, which will put him on 105. Jezler will only gain 1, which will put him to 90. So it would be a 15-point gap. So then, with that, Jezler would have to win, and would have to hope Sem doesn't get P9 or higher. So right now, even if Sem stays like this, all he just needs to do next week in the finale at Abu Dhabi is score like a P6 or P7 and he wins the championship. He could win it today though. However, Oscar seems to be absolutely flying on these mediums. The tyre switch should be fading off and dying off. He's gained another second. So clearly Oscar's showing great pace here. However, Jordan's actually going to look for the move now on Sem. Sem might not have the championship as of yet because Jordan, the other Alpine driver, has finally gotten past and now up into P3. So Sem right now is only going to gain 8 points, which will put him to 101. Jezler will only be on 90, which means it'll be an 11-point gap. So if Jezler wins, Sem would then have to be P6 or higher. So, I mean, essentially, if Sem just gets like a P4 right now, he just needs to get the same result next week, and he should win the championship. However, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with the rest of this race. Oscar has now gained another 5 temps to Medge. How has he done this on 12 lap old mediums? Mediums are supposed to go approximately, like the best tyre life for the mediums is supposed to be 16 laps. And Oscar's gaining time to hard competent tyre drivers on 12 lap old mediums. I am very confused. However, yeah, this is interesting. Hopefully, I might actually see about this. We might be able to do interviews. We're going to have to just wait and see with that. As, are we going to have to do it through a PlayStation party? Or, I'm not sure. I might be able to do interviews, I'm not entirely sure. We'll wait and see what it's like at the end here today. As Sem, oh, he was close there to the rear of Jordan, might have looked for it. Jakku nearly made contact there with his ex-esports teammate actually. As we now enter onto lap 23, we have, I believe, 6 more laps. Yeah, 6 more laps to go. Oscar's tyres will start to fade now, although he's still gaining time. I don't know how he's doing this. This is unbelievable with what he's doing here. As, yeah, I mean, he's still gaining time of, just looking at the ERS levels though, of this DRS train between P2 to P6, as you can see, all 5 drivers here, all within like a second and a half of each other, which is brilliant to see. As if anyone's just joining in now, hello and welcome to the final few laps here in PSGL F8. There's a possible chance that this championship could be sealed today. That is if Sem wins, but currently it looks a bit unlikely. This is of course with Jezzer pitting. However, Jezzer's now on the back of Alpha Gully and Oesi. So maybe Sem's actually going to have to perform a bit better next week. We're going to have to wait and see. Of course, like I was saying before, that only just depends on if Jezzer wins. Is Jezzer very close now to Oesi and Alpha Gully? He is going to probably try get a double overtake potentially. He's going to try get Alpha Gully. Alpha Gully's using ERS though. He's trying to defend the position as best as he can as he's pulling to the inside line. But Jezzer's going to go even further to the inside. He's going to go up into P9. He's potentially even going to get past Oesi here. Is Oesi going to let him pass? Because remember, these two are in fact Red Bull teammates. although Jesler's in the Williams car, as Alessi has pulled to the side, he's letting Jesler pass. This brilliant teamwork between the Red Bull drivers. So now, as it stands, Jesler will be scoring 3 points, which will put him up to 92. Sem will be scoring 8 points, which will put him up to 101. So 101 and 92 will be a 9-point gap going into next week. As it stands, we never know. Jesler might be able to catch up to the back of these drivers here, and it'd be incredible if he could do that. As Oscar still managing to manage these tyres up ahead, however, he is now losing time to the drivers behind, I believe. Am I wrong or am I right? I think I'm wrong. I think Oscar's actually gained more time. It's unbelievable how Oscar's being able to do this. However, we just have to pay attention to this massive DRS train because we are going to see moves eventually, and we're going to see desperate moves, if anything, as Jordan's gaining onto the back of his teammate. He does lift though before the final corner. Dankos was gaining on the back of Jakku there. He does not make any move as of yet though, so just gonna have to wait and see what these drivers do. Dankos the closest to any driver ahead as it stands right now. As where's my game audio went? Sorry, the game audio's disappeared. The game audio's disappeared. I'm so sorry, everyone. I don't know where it has went to. It's just disappeared. How long has it been gone for? It, it only just recently went. Okay, I'm so confused. I don't know. We're just gonna have to go the final few laps without any game sound, unfortunately. So sorry to everyone about that. But final few laps now. We're on lap 25, about to go into lap 26, so 3 more laps to go in this race. And the Alpine teammates are making that important switch. Jordan now goes up into P2, Medj down into P3. Of course, they're playing this strategically. Jordan, as well, remember, is P4 in the championship. Medj is P7. So that's also potentially to do with the championship. We're just going to have to wait and see what their tactic is. As I'm trying to get game sound to load, but there's nothing. So I'm sorry, everyone. It has been working, but just all of a sudden decides to stop. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry for that. Oscar, however, still leading this race, and it is still a 5-second gap to the drivers behind. It's an absolutely incredible gap. I don't know how he's been able to do this right now. However, Jordan leading the way. Well, not leading the way, leading the DRS train away, I should say. Medj, then Sem, then Jakku, then Dankos. Dankos actually makes a bit of contact there with Jakku. This is the desperate moves which I was talking about. Dankos is so close to the rear of Jakku, he's just trying to make the moves done now. But a bit too audacious, I would say, because he now loses a bit of time to the rear of Jakku. And now we're going to have to see if there's going to be any more moves happening in this DRS train. Jordan, Medj, Sem, Jakku, Dankos. Is there going to be any? If anything, I think it might be between Dankos and Jakku. We're just going to have to wait and see, though, as he is the closest. However, looks like no moves as of yet. So, entering onto the second final lap, the penultimate lap of this Chinese Grand Prix. Oscar is now losing time. These tyres are starting to degrade now as the gap is now less than 5 seconds. However, he's built such a gap that he can nearly cruise to the win, I think, potentially, because he's doing so well right now. I mean, we've just got to watch this DRS train now. is actually also watch this battle here. Jessler could potentially overtake Abel here for P7, which would see him score one more point in the Grand Prix, which would be crucial for the championship battle, of course, between Jessler and Sem as it stands. As Jessler is very, very close to Abel here. He's definitely going to look for the move, maybe on the back straight. He has so much more grip though, he could potentially look for it here in Sector 2 if he wanted to. He's decided not to though. Jessler will probably only get P7. I don't imagine he's going to gain nearly 6 seconds in 2 laps to the driver's ahead. As yeah, he will most definitely get past here on the long DRS straight. As here we go, the second final lap, Medj and Jordan. Medj looks like he's going to go past his teammate once again, as Medj now goes back up into P2. Of course, this is the strategical play between the Alpine teammates. Medj up into P2, Sem trying to make any position as we now enter onto the final lap of the race. Oscar leads the way by 4.6 seconds. It should be a comfortable win for him. He's just got to manage these medium competent tyres until the very end of the race. There's a move at the back actually between Alpha Gully and Noesi. A few battles there for the final few point paying positions. As this DRS train is so close now between P2 and P6. If you're only just joining in now, you've probably joined in the best few laps to tune into this whole race, because now we see a P2 to P6 battle and they're all got like 30% ERS to use on each other on the DRS streets. Would be the smartest idea. This is going to be so close as it stands. Dankos has gotten past Jakku. Jakku's made a mistake on the last lap, a crucial mistake, which now means Jakku will be down into P6, but Dankos might not even potentially get DRS because of the mistake. It looks like he will though. Yeah, it looks like he will just get it. It's so close there. Actually, he might not. Is he? Yes, he is. Abel, however, what was that? Did he have a moment? Did he run out of fuel? I don't know. However, Oscar now on the back straight. Oscar using all of his ERS. We're going to have to go here, however, because Sem is gaining on the back of Jordan. Sem's going to look for a podium. He's going to send it on Jordan. Is he going to be able to get the position? Round turn 14. I don't think he is. It's Oscar around the final corner now. It's been a dominant display by Oscar yet again, and he wins the Chinese Grand Prix. It's then followed by Medj, and then Jordan, who manages to just narrowly beat Sem for the podium. It's a double Alpine podium. It's then Sem in P4, followed by Dankos in P5. It's then Jakku P6. Jessler managing to get P7. Then Abel in P8. And then Alpha Gully and OSE battling in the last few laps. It's going to be Alpha Gully P9 and OSE in P10. Wow. What a race that was. As we're just going to get the final results up, and then we will see driver of the day is Medj. Can't exactly remember the position thing which he got, as there is Oscar. I was right, he is Norwegian. I did get something right. As you can see, it's a Norwegian, Swedish podium. It's a Scandinavian podium, I've just realised. Sweden and Norway, all covered by the Scandinavian countries. Of course, the 2 Alpines, which is the crucial thing, which might actually mean Alpine lead the constructors now. I believe they will, which will be very crucial going into the last round, because Jordan and Medj have been both exceptional this season. So Oscar P1 to P1, it's a brilliant race there from Medj. No wonder he got driver today. P8 to P2. Wow, that's a brilliant race from Medj. I didn't even realise he was P8. So it's Oscar who wins, followed by then Medj and Jordan on the podium. The 2 Alpine drivers, of course, Oscar is also Aston Martin, I believe, so that's going to be a good few points for Aston Martin. Both gaining a lot of positions. Sem stays in P4, Dankos stays in P5. Sem does get the crucial amount of points, so going into next week's finale in Abu Dhabi, Jakku then P6, and then the championship rival Jessler in P7, then Abel P8, Alpha Gully in P9, and OSA in P10, and then Lynx, Wessel, and Nerazinho rounding up the non-point paint positions, of course, unfortunately, a few of those drivers at the back not scoring any points. So that is all for today for the Chinese Grand Prix. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do interviews. I would want to do... That's what you doing? I would want to be doing interviews. Sorry for the light going off there. I would want to be doing interviews. However, I cannot do so. So definitely be sure to tune in for the final round next week. The final round next week will be the biggest. We will see the Drivers' Championship finish and the Constructors' Championship battle, both going into the final round. I don't know how many tiers have that happening, but definitely tune in next week in Abu Dhabi, the exact same time, Monday, 7 p.m. British time, UK time, of course, for Abu Dhabi, which we will see Sem and Jezler battle out for the Drivers' Championship, and I believe AlphaTauri, McLaren, Alpine, and Red Bull all battle it out for the Constructors' Championship. Potentially even Aston Martin and Haas. They might get involved as well. I can't tell mathematically like who is in it. I know the top four are definitely though Red Bull, Alpine, McLaren, and AlphaTauri. But yeah, I've been Cameron Don. Thank you to everyone for watching today's stream. And like I said, definitely tune in next week. We're just going to run one more advert here for, of course, our main title sponsor, GT Omega for PSGL. And yeah, thank you everyone, and definitely tune in next week. I've been Cameron Dunn. Thank you, and good night.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside off here. He's through on the left hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.